welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. It's time for another season preview, and this time it's a turn of the New York Giants. With me, I've got a returning guest from last season's season preview, as well as other episodes during last season, including the most recent one, which I believe was the preview to the Giants-Eagles game we had in the divisional round of last season, which of course didn't end too well, but positivity is all around the New York Giants fan base right now, and one of them is here. It's Tom Morton. How are you, mate?
Mate, very good, very good. Very happy to be here. Yeah, that Eagles game went well, didn't it? So let's see if I get it right this time.
I was convinced that you were going to win that game. I thought that you were going to surprise the Eagles. I thought they might be one of those teams that suffer from first round bye, being rusty, etc., etc. But that game was very much. I went to London to watch it in the Hippodrome, and it very much was. It wasn't quite the game I thought it was going to be, but it's you can't argue that they made Super Bowl, and they almost won it. So if you're going to lose to anyone in that conference, it might be the team that won it. So on to next season, really. So first of all, just how excited are you for the season and the Giants' chances?
I'm remaining pretty optimistic, to be honest. I mean, it's always nice coming up, even though that Philly loss was a bit emphatic. It's always nice to come off a little bit of a playoff run when you've been without it for so long. It feels like ages ago, to be honest, mate. Since we were sat watching the Super Bowl, it seems to almost forgotten about. But I am very excited for the Giants season. I'm hoping for another good one, and hopefully another run at the playoffs.
Yeah, and that is what your aim is. Has to be the season to make the playoffs and try and go far again. I mean, as you said, then it's been 5 months at time of recording on July 19th. 5 months since the Super Bowl happened, and we are now less than 2 months away from. And this podcast will be released probably with a month and a couple of days to go. So it's likely to be released early August, this episode. So if that's the case, then it's going to be a month to go. So if you are listening to or watching on YouTube, or however you're watching this podcast or listen to it, at this time the episode's out, we are almost there. The long off season is almost here. So it's almost at an end, I should say. And preseason football will be just around the corner at that point. Talking about the season, the main sort of ins and outs to me, obviously the main talking points were Saquon Barkley and Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley franchise tag. Daniel Jones has been given a new contract, and we will talk about Saquon Barkley in a bit. But other players that have come in, obviously re-signings such as Isaiah Hodgkins, Matt Breida, Jamie Gillen, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, and the other players that have come in, such as Bobby Okereke, who's come in after a time at Indianapolis Colts, Paris Campbell via the Colts as well, Jameson Crowder. That's really the main sort of Down Water, the main incoming for you guys, and then players that have left, such as Kenny Golladay, other players that left. One of the worst signings in the offseason I've ever seen. John Feliciano's gone, Julian Love, Richie James. So no real main, at the moment, time of recording, no real main outs. Obviously, there could be one about to happen. We don't know yet.
Yeah.
But what's your take been on the off-season as a whole for your team?
I think it's been good. I think we haven't really weakened ourselves in any way, which has been the typical of the Giants for the last 10 years. Is give stupid contracts out to stupid players and not actually keep your main pieces. But we've done a good job re-signing Dexter Lawrence, extending fifth-year extension for Andrew Thomas, which has been key. Re-signing Daniel Jones. Lots of people outside the Giants might think it's a stupid thing to do. I think it's very important to keep your quarterback happy and keep him there. To be honest, I think Dable's going to work some wonders. Hopefully, Barkley, I hope he plays, but if he doesn't, then we'll have to think of a backup plan. But I think the main thing is getting Darren Waller through the door. I think that was a bit unexpected from everyone, and get a top 5 tight end through the door for a team whose receiver room has really struggled, for a quarterback who needs another receiver to take that next step. So I think all in all, we should all be pretty happy with ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, mentioning Dan Waller and Daniel Jones, these are two players that have got a lot of question marks around them. Dan Waller mainly because of injuries, and Daniel Jones mainly because of only really having one good season. Even then, I think he had less than 20 touchdowns. So for you, in terms of Daniel Jones, particularly, as well as Dan Waller, just how do you think these players will do this year? Do you think Daniel Jones is this a one season wonder, or can you see him developing more and more under Brian Daboll?
I'd like to say he'd develop more. I think you saw an obvious change in him from 2021 into 2022. I know you mentioned about the only 20 touchdowns or so, but the running game was taking up a large portion of that, and we didn't have many receivers to actually pick up the slack. I'd like to say he's now a player it won't lose us games. I think that's just as important as a player who can go and win you games, because before 2021 and before, you sort of be looking at Daniel Jones and think, shit, he's going to lose us this year. He's not actually going to step up and be what we need him to be, but he's now someone who doesn't turn over the ball as much. I know he still does, but he doesn't fumble the ball as much as he did. He doesn't throw as many interceptions as he did. So hopefully Daboll can look at that and take another step to now a sort of 25, 30 touchdown season, even less turnovers, and hopefully someone you can go out there and think, you look in his eye and think he's going to win us that game.
And I believe as well, he is the first player in NFL history, particularly the quarterback position, to not have their fifth year exercise and then get a new deal with the same team. I don't think it's happened before. I think that shows the year he had, and I think that you've seen with Brian Daboll how much he improved Josh Allen when he's at the Bills, and it looks like already he's doing wonders with Daniel Jones. And I think he's a guy that also great with his legs as well. I think that goes very under the radar, the fact that he can use his legs quite well. And I think that is one of the things where I think we'll know next year the real Daniel Jones, whether he is just a guy who's playing for his life and playing for his career, or whether he was a guy that actually made improvement under Brian Daboll. And of course, Dan Waller, if you can get him in, if he is healthy, and if he is Dan Waller, we've seen without the injuries, and I think that's an absolute game changer, because, you know, really there isn't that many great receivers at the Giants right now. I think he did well last year considering who he was really thrown to. Isaiah Hodgkins, Darius Slayton, all them. They're not Travis Kelce. They're not Stephon Diggs. They're not Tyreek Hill. They're not Jamar Chase. So I think to do what he's done with that, and if you can get Dan Waller, who's a great receiving tight end, to get him in and get him healthy and producing like he was before his injuries, I think that as well just massively helps you guys as well in a conference that is the weaker of the two. So I think it really helped you. But of course, one thing that could hinder the entire season, could completely just blow it over, is Saquon Barkley. Now, this news came out, I believe it was yesterday, day before yesterday. I'm just going to get the official line from what's been happening, because I don't want to give false information or say the wrong thing on this podcast. But obviously, he failed to agree a contract extension. Not the only one. I think Josh Jacobs as well, who I've sadly taken in many fantasy leagues this year. And there's been a lot of people that have said they would have, like Derrick Henry has made his feelings clear on Twitter. I think even Tony Pollard's not been given a new deal, and a lot of players talking about the fact that it's a devaluing position. I know you did place a non-exclusive franchise tag on him with £10 million, but obviously since then it has all sort of gone haywire this last year, and I think there's a lot of talk of now sitting out the season or even be traded. So for you, Tom, what's your take on it, and what do you think will happen? Obviously, I'm aware that, again, like I said before in our Wolves episode, this podcast is being recorded on July 19th, and this will be coming out about early August, maybe late July at earliest. So I think in terms of that, by the time this comes out, this podcast, this whole thing may have been completely dealt with, whether he's signing a deal, whether he's sitting out, or whether he isn't on a new team. What do you think is going to happen with Saquon Barkley?
I think we all need to take a little bit of a step back and just chill out. He's not going to sit out the season. That'll do him more harm than it will anyone else. So let's just park that one there. I know loads of Giants fans have been like, oh my God, he's going to sit out, he's going to do this. You saw with Le'Veon Bell when he sat out, he was never the same again. He's not going to do that. I think from a Giants perspective, I do see where they're coming from. You don't want to pay all this money and cripple your cap for the next 3-4 years on a player who's only really had 2 healthy seasons. And Saquon Barkley was the centerpiece of our offense last season, and there's no denying that at all. And he's still the most important player on that offense. I know we talked about Daniel Jones earlier, but it runs through Barkley. Barkley's the piece to build around. But I get it from a pragmatic point of view. You have a new GM, or relatively new GM head coach duo taking over from the toxic old one. Everyone criticised the pick at number 2 anyway. You don't take running backs that high. In terms of the position being devalued, I think there is something in that because you're seeing backup players like Pollard taking over from Elliott, and he could produce just as well, if not better. You don't need to spend that much money on the running back. They are replaceable in the 3rd and 4th round, as we've seen many sort of diamonds in the rough come out before. But going back to that, Barkley needs to play on this tag and be like, this is why you should pay me 16 million a year. This is why you should do that. Because like players like McCaffrey, he got a massive contract from the Panthers and was injured within week 2 for each of the last 2 seasons or whatever it is. But I think there's no coincidence that Giants started playing well as Barkley started playing well. I think there's people in the organisation do need to remember that. But from a fan's perspective, it does him more harm than good to not play this year. In terms of the team, I think and himself, sitting out the entire offseason could do one of two things. It could mean he's not prepared and he gets injured again within the first few weeks and is out for the year, and then he definitely doesn't get a contract. Or he's out of sync with the rest of the offense, because I know we've got a lot of new pieces. You've got Daniel Jones, who's still growing, if you like. The offensive line sort of had a bit of in and out this year. So he may be out of sync and cause turnovers. So he needs the preparation as much as the Giants need him. So I'm interested to see how it goes, but I don't see him going anywhere else unless we rescind that tag and trade him or let him go or whatever we want to do.
I think you're right. And I think you brought up a great point that I've not even thought about, Le'Veon Bell, because there's some players that have benefited from the franchise tag, Kirk Cousins being one I can think of top of my head. But Le'Veon Bell is the classic example of be careful what you wish for, because we've all seen what's happened since. And obviously he's not even playing now. He literally went from being the best, but probably at the time, the best running back in the league. Probably him and Todd Gurley had that shared role to then becoming, a
mediocre
man and a rapper. Yeah, exactly. And did he do boxing as well at one point? Him and Adrian Peterson had a fight. Is that right?
Oh yeah, they did, didn't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. I
That
think
went well.
Peterson beat him. Yeah. It's So I think whilst on the one side, I think things like Ezekiel Elliott's deal has been the sort of the protagonist or the start of this downfall for contracts for running back. At the same time, Saquon Barkley, everyone forget, is a guy, as you said, he's only had 2 real full healthy seasons. So you can see it from the Giants' point of view completely. And I do feel like I think the more likely, I think he will have a resolution. I think they will just pay the money, even if it means, like, for example, 5-year, you're guaranteed, I don't know, £60 million, for example, and you get only about an eighth of that the first year, and then make up for the second year with the whole Daniel Jones initiative. Maybe they could do that. I don't know. They could try and spread it out a bit unevenly. But yeah, I think that if they can guarantee him some money, but guarantee it to be next year, for example, and give him a little bit towards this year to help with the cap, I think that's what they could do. But of course, this is a team that is in a hard conference as well. I mean, you look at the Eagles and the Cowboys aren't going away anytime soon. They'll be there. The Commanders probably will be the bottom team, but you look at the Giants, they've got to try and keep all the players they have, because if they lose, if Saquon Barkley, if he's not resolved, Saquon Barkley either sits out or if he moves on to another team, I would put my money on it. There's no way to make the playoffs. I think it's a tight squeeze, even with Barkley. If I'm honest, teams have got stronger in the conference, and I think that if they've got a chance of making the playoffs, I think Brian Daboll appears to be one of them. But the other key factor is Barkley. And I think that obviously defense, you've got some great players as well, like Dexter Lawrence, for example, and Leonard Williams and all that. But at the same time, you need Barkley on offense, because he was a big part of the London win last season against the Packers. I was told I wasn't watching the game, I was away, but look at the Vikings playoff game as well, and I think that he is someone that you just need. And I know he's not healthy, and I think that is part of the reason why they're not paying him the money. But I think if you can get him even 70% healthy, I think it's absolutely needed. And I think that for Giants' sake, they better hope they keep him on and he stays, because otherwise it could be a tough season.
Yeah, I mean, and to build on that point, the London game, I was there, and sort of in despair at the beginning of the first quarter. You didn't think. I thought, oh God, I paid a hell of a lot of money to get here to see this, and then he just ignited the team. And to see that firsthand, I mean, I've seen him play in the flesh 3 times now, and the first time was that hurdle over Amos, which is the picture that we all know, and that was the third time. I saw him against the Eagles not last season, season before. He didn't do anything. We'll ignore that. But he's the one that you go to watch. He's the one that sells jerseys. He's everything to that, and he'll make that money back to the Giants. He'll make Giants that money back tenfold, because every kid wants a Barkley jersey, don't they? So he's important. He's an important piece commercially as well as on the field.
I agree. I think he is one of the most marketable running backs. I think that obviously quarterbacks get all the attention, wide receivers as well. But I think in terms of running backs, I think that really, I think McCaffrey probably is up there as well. Derrick Henry obviously is one of them.
Yeah.
But even though he's had his problems, he is still one of the guys that, especially Giants fans, I mean, he is the guy. I mean, Daniel Jones, I'd imagine maybe still splits opinion with the fans, but you'll know more than me. But Barkley, I remember when I went to watch Giants play in Jacksonville last year, I was literally walking back to my trying to find some sort of Uber spot, and I literally saw a crowd of people think what's going on here. And then I started seeing people like Jamie Gillan and Graham Gano just talking, and I realised, oh wait a sec, these are where the players come out. So I stayed there. You know, Daniel Jones at the time he was still questioned, so it wasn't much love for him. But when Barkley came out the door, everyone just fled towards where he was. Yeah. And what I've been told by people who've been to Giants games a lot before, they've been telling me that he stays and signs most autographs. So I think it just showed me then, if I didn't know already, how much of a big star he was. And I think that I think because he has to stay. Quick side note, actually, you mentioned you've been to 3 games. That I want to get, you'll know in a minute why I'm asking this, but 3 games. What's your record at Giants games, watching them play?
I've been to 4. I've been to 4 actually, but just 3 with Barkley. My record's 4-0.
Oh, that is amazing.
2 in London, 2 at MetLife. It's 4-0.
So, Giants fans listening, pay for them to go to every game. That's what you got to do. You got to pay for them to go to every game. That's what's got to happen now. You've got to make some sort of GoFundMe page by Giants fans.
You know what will happen? They'll send me to the Dallas game and we'll get beaten 38-1 or 38-7 or something like that, and then I'll take all my tickets away. But yeah, no. If anyone wants to fund that, I'm open to offers.
Well, I'm glad you said 4-0, because that is the complete opposite of my Dolphins record. I am 0-4 at Dolphins games. It's 1 in London, 1 in Cincinnati, 1 in Miami, and then 1 in LA. So it's I'm going to, at the moment, just 1 game, the Eagles game, which probably will make it 0-5. But hopefully, if I do get to Frankfurt ticket to go watch them play the Chiefs, I'm hoping that. But I'm thinking playing good teams. So I'm probably going to be 0-6 by the end of next year, which is not great.
Yeah, no. I don't think I've seen the Dolphins win either, to be honest. I think I've seen them 2 or 3 times. Each time they've. So
it's horrible. I mean, even in London, they're about, I think they're 1-5, 1-4 at London games. They've only won 1 game. I think that was against the Jets. Or was it against the Raiders? It was before my time of properly loving the NFL. So I think either the Jets or the Raiders, 1 or 2. We played them back years in London, which would have been amazing if I was like more than just a casual fan back then. That would have been amazing. But I'm hoping at some point I'll see him win a game. But it's looking like I'm some sort of curse at the moment. And there's sort of friends of mine in the fan base, Fence Nation UK, that telling me don't go to any more games. You're banned from games forever.
Restricting your ticket sales.
Yeah. I'll be like barred from Ticketmaster. They'll see there'll be Dolphins fans. They'll see me even if I get to the stadium, they'll see my name all across the stadium. Say, have you seen this man? Don't let him in.
We'll see it get hacked by Patriots fans next. That'll be their next scandal.
Andy Gate.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so we're going to head to our final segment, which is going to be our win-loss-tie segment, which if you don't know the story by now, if you are listening for the first time, we ask every fan who comes on to predict every game and say whether they think they're going to win, lose or tie. We're going to compare this amongst other fans' predictions so far. So, obviously, I mentioned you came on last year. The record that the Giants had in the actual season was 9-7-1. Your record prediction was 8-9. So you were pretty close. You were pretty close in your prediction. So
quite happy with that when I looked at that earlier. To be honest,
not too bad. They're not. I've seen worse people's predictions. I've come back to bite them. But yeah, yours seems pretty on the ball. Week 1, you mentioned Dallas at home, win, loss or tie.
Loss. We can't win in the division, and especially if Barkley sits out the off season. I think if he's slow to get going, we'll be slow to get going. So yeah, unfortunately.
So that is 0-1 start. So then week 2 is a road game. A game I'm actually going to. Actually, back-to-back Giants games I'm going to here in Arizona.
I think we'll win that one. I think the Cardinals aren't as strong as they were maybe 2-3 years ago. I think Kyler Murray's sort of got question marks around him now. They've lost Hopkins. So I will, and they may be losing Buda Baker at some point if they haven't already. I'm not sure. So I think we'll win that game.
Okay, next one. I say I'm actually going to have to leave about third quarter time. I've got to get the flight back to the UK, but it is in San Francisco against the 49ers.
Yeah, that's a loss. We'll just write that off straight away. They're too strong.
Fair enough. I think we said it before in another podcast, especially being an NFC West themed start to this series. 49ers seems the team that are going to be one of the contenders, if not the winner of the NFC. So, yeah, I can see why you'd think that. Week 4, back at home against the Seattle Seahawks.
I think we'll beat the Seahawks. I know we lost to them last year, but it was close. And I think that their 12th man that they've got over there really pushed them over the line. So I think with our fans, our stadium, I think we should be able to win that game.
Okay, and then week 5, careful what your answer is because I am the host of this podcast. A road game to the Dolphins.
Are you going to this one?
No, I'm not going to Miami this year. Right. If I'm honest, I know I got into the Dolphins because I went to a holiday in Orlando, but I didn't really like Miami that much, if I'm honest. I liked the Florida Keys was quite nice, but I didn't really. I got shout out Gary, who actually passed away this week, but who I met there. But I wasn't keen. I'm not really a beach guy, if I'm honest. I'm not really like I prefer the East Coast to the West Coast, but when I went to Miami, I didn't really fall in love with the place. Obviously, I've got my team now, and that's been set for what's that now, 13 years or so, but. I preferred like Chicago, New York, and Seattle, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
I can see that.
Either way, I will go back eventually, and I'm planning to go to hopefully next year a game in Seattle and stuff like that. But I will come back at some point. But it's not the easiest place to get around as well in terms of taxis are quite expensive. Everywhere's quite spread out. But I've got a lot of friends who I've made both in America and in the UK of Dolphin fans. So it's sort of always been a team no matter what. But I will probably more likely be going to road games rather than home games in my next 20, 30 years, if I'm honest, because I like America and I prefer the East Coast. So I'm not going to the game, but I'll be certainly watching. Oh no, this is when the London game is, isn't it? So the 8th of October will be the Bills Jags. I'll probably be going to watch it afterwards. It'll be on, play straight after the games. I'll probably find a bar in London somewhere and watch it.
I hope you'll be disappointed because I've got Giants down as a win. So,
actually, to be fair, I think we actually been talking about because I potentially have a spare ticket for that game, and it's my dad coming with me, but he might not be able to come. So you are my sort of, I think you're second in line to ticket if Freddie on the front line, right? Yeah, exactly. So if we do go to that game, we'll have to go to bar and watch it somewhere. We'll have to go watch it. That's like the perfect. If our both our teams are playing each other on the same day. After that game, we have to find somewhere to watch it. We can't not miss out on an opportunity.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that down the line. We'll get there. It's still the reaction.
Yeah, I think depends how it goes. If we get to the second quarter and we're losing by 20 points, I might have to bid you an early farewell, but
not likely.
AFC East continues in week 6, a road game at the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, that's another loss. I think the Bills are too strong. I know they've had a bit of turmoil with Diggs and all of that this season, but the Bills are too good for us.
Fair enough. Week 8 is a home game. Week 7, is a home game against the Washington Commanders.
I think we'll win that one. I think they're the only divisional games I think we like playing in. I don't know what it is about the Commanders, but we like playing them, and we especially like playing them at home. So I'm going to take that win.
Okay, and then week 8 is another home game, but this time against another AFC East team in the New York Jets.
Sadly, I think we'll lose that game. We don't have a very good record against the Jets of late. I mean, we only play them every 4 years or so. But I think now with Aaron Rodgers coming in, they've got a decent defense. They were unlucky to miss out last year. I think the Jets are on the rise, unfortunately, so I think they'll beat us.
Just realised I said home game against the New York Jets.
I mean, they're all home in that ground, aren't
Yeah. Week 9 is a road game. You're off to Vegas to play the Las Vegas Raiders.
I think we'll beat the Raiders. I think I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it is about that team. I think trouble just follows them. I think by that point in the season, they would have had some scandal or other, wouldn't they? So I think that's probably a decent time to play him. So I'm going to say a win.
And who do you predict to get arrested this year? I mean, they're a team that is prime for people getting arrested. You know, Cleveland Farrell with the gun, obviously the Henry Ruggs situation. But yeah, who do you, if any player was going to get arrested this year from the Raiders, who are you picking?
I'm trying to think of who's left. To be honest, I wouldn't put it past the head coach. To be honest, it was McDaniels.
Oh
So
yeah,
I'm going to go with a rogue choice. Some sort of white collar crime.
Yeah, I think he's so sus to me. But like I think I reckon like some sort of like insurance fraud or something. That'd be my guess.
Yeah,
Josh McDaniels,
Cayman Islands or something. I can see that.
or maybe it was a fraud of pretending he was a head coach. Maybe that was a fraud.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's a fair point from you.
So week 10 is in Dallas against the Cowboys.
Yeah, another loss. We don't like playing in Dallas, and they always seem to turn up. So I think can write that one off as well.
Yeah. Week 11 in Washington against Commanders.
Provided the pitch doesn't break all of our players, I think we'll win that game. It is without a doubt the worst stadium in the league. I haven't been to all of them, but I know it's the worst one. I just do.
Yeah, it's a shame because actually at times it looks nice. I mean, I'm actually going there to a game against the Eagles. I believe it's week 8, and yeah, I'm looking forward to going. I went to see the thing from the outside last season. It didn't go away, but now I'm on this sort of aim to try and get the whole set. I've got to go for the game there.
Yeah.
I did think.
I mean, to be fair, the fans are great. The tailgate they're really great. They're really passionate. They're really nice people. So that's great. But once you get inside, it starts to go downhill.
And I think you told me before that it's one of the worst stadiums you found to get out of as well.
Yeah, I don't think it's as bad if you're going on a Sunday, but Monday night, we went on a Monday night game and there was a queue of thousands of people going out to get Ubers because public transport stopped at about 9 o'clock. And for an 8 o'clock kickoff, that's not really ideal. So,
that is strange.
Yeah, it's quite out of the way as well. It's a decent walk from the metro stop as well. But yeah, not a positive review, but there we go.
But do keep watching our YouTube channel because we will on Euro trips over the main sort of provider of this podcast, and we will be a vlog at some point on that game. So keep an eye out, and I'll give you my review of the stadium. Week 12, completing your AFC East tour, is a home game against the Patriots.
I think we'll beat the Patriots. They're not what they were. They're in a bit of turmoil as well with the Kraft Belichick sort of argument situation going on at the moment. So I will very happily take that win off them.
Okay, and then week 13 is your bye week, which I think is one of the more perfect weeks of a bye week. And then week 14, a repeat of the London game you saw last year at home to the Packers.
I think we'll beat the Packers, to be honest. I mean, we're not going to Lambeau. We're not going to Lambeau in what looks like November, December. So it won't be as bad for us. And I think, from what I've seen of Jordan Love, I know it's not a lot, but he's not Aaron Rodgers, is he? So I think the Packers will take a bit of a nosedive.
Okay, and then week 15 is a trip to the Superdome to take on the New Orleans Saints.
I think we'll beat them. I mean, they may be revitalized under Derek Carr, but it's still Derek Carr. So I think we'll beat them.
Okay, then Christmas Day game. So it's 4:30 p.m. in the US time, so it'll be about 9:30 p.m., which is probably a perfect time because most of the family would have gone to bed by this point. I remember Packers played us last year, 6 o'clock. Thankfully, I was ill, so I could actually watch it. But if I wasn't ill, I may have had more of an issue with watching that. So you've all got a perfect time there as a UK fan, 9:30 in the evening. And yeah, how's that game going to go for you?
I think it's a perfect game to fall asleep in the middle of because when we're about 30 points down going into half time, I think I'll be very happy to miss the second half. So I'm going to say a loss there because I can't remember the last time we won at the Link, but oh no, it's at home, isn't it? Oh no, no,
Oh, it's in
it is
Philadelphia.
at the Link. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
my point stands. Yeah, no, we're not going to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, how do you approach Christmas Day sort of in your sort of Christmas household? Are you a guy that will have to miss it to family or girlfriend arrangements, or are you someone that will find a way to watch it no matter what?
I think at that point on Christmas Day, I think all bets are off. You've done your family commitments, you've done all everything like that. So I think that's me time, me with some leftovers, sort of
Mhm.
feeling very full. I think yeah, I think by that time it will be sound for me me to just hide
Mhm.
myself away.
Sounds great. I mean, I love the idea of having our yearly Christmas trifle, our leftovers and stuff like that. That all can't wait for all of that. And I think we did mention in the previous podcast. There's actually a great selection of games on Christmas Day, but yeah, looking forward to it. And New Year's Eve is when the next game is, week 17, a game where you've got the whole slate on the same day, which is amazing. If you're not a fan of New Year's Eve like myself, a great time to enjoy that New Year's Eve football all day. But you're playing the Los Angeles Rams.
Yes, and I think we'll beat them. To be honest, I think I know they fell off last season and they're sort of feeling like they might bounce back a bit, but they're just not what they were. I think Stafford will be injured by this point, as he so often is. So Aaron Donald's the only, and Cooper Cup, I guess, as well. I keep forgetting about him. I think Aaron Donald will be an issue, but apart from that, I think we might win a fairly low scoring game.
Okay, and then going on to week 8. So right now you are 10-6 going into the final week of the season, which is a home game against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Unfortunately, it's going to finish 10-7 because the Eagles are so much better than we are. I think I tempted fate at the end of last season by saying we're beaten in the playoffs and made them angry. So hopefully, if I show them a little bit of respect, we might just turn it over. But for now, I've got it as a loss.
Okay, so that means that at time of this episode being recorded, you are our 12th guest on our 11th team on the podcast so far. So right now you're 10-6. Obviously, you are miles behind teams like Paul Hope's got the 49ers 14-3. So right now you are our joint 6th or 7th most optimistic fan so far. So yeah, that's pretty good.
It makes a difference from the Wolves podcast we just did, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
I'm nice able at the moment.
Yeah, a bit of a contrast. More optimism than maybe your Wolves feelings right now.
Yeah, it's taken a real turn over the last couple of years because it would have been the other way around a couple of years ago.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, that would be. It's funny how it's amazing how sport changes so quickly. In the NFL, especially, is that's what it's known for, and it's why we all love it's why we all love the sport so much. So,
Yeah,
10-7, you would think, particularly in the NFC, would get you into playoffs. More likely as a wildcard team, unless something goes horrendously
yeah.
wrong with the Cowboys and Eagles. But if you get to the playoffs as a wildcard team, how far do you think this team can go in the postseason?
I think you've got to be happy with just another wild card win. I think um, if you match what you did last year, then great. If you beat it, then you've done amazing. So I think, as you say, it's there are two teams to beat in this conference, and they're the Eagles and the Niners. And unfortunately, we've got to play the Eagles twice before we have to get anywhere. So I reckon if we finish third in the division, get that seventh seed, sixth seed, seventh seed, something like that, win a game, you can't be angry at that, really, can you?
I agree, and I think that there's some teams they make the playoffs and don't return for years, and we've done that in recent times. One playoff appearance or two now in the last 8-9 years or so. But we all like people like me and you are always envious of teams like fans of teams who get to see the playoffs every year, like the Cowboys fans and
Yeah.
these days Chiefs fans stuff like that. They're in the playoffs every year, and Bills fans as well these days. So I think, as you said, I think just to be in there again and once again consecutive years playoff contender, I think it's a sign of progress because this team has only had, I believe, like ourselves, only 2 or 3 playoff appearances in the last 10 years or 5 years or so. So yeah, I think that's a good season. But that is where we will end this New York Giants season preview. So thank you, Tom, once again for coming on.
Thanks very much for having me, and hope to be back soon.
Definitely. And yeah, we'll look forward to having you on some point during the season. And of course, we'll try and get you on to preview Dolphins Giants, both for Fins Nation UK and also across the pod in the same episode. But yeah, in the meantime, this has been the Across the Pod podcast. I've been Andy, this has been Tom Morton, and we will see you guys for our next season preview, which will be the Denver Broncos. See you then.